Welcome everybody, this is GP Notebook TV and my name is Julie Oliver. Today's video is going to be on a piece of research that was published on the 18th of June from the British Medical Journal, and it was looking at an electronic decision-making toolkit for deprescribing in the elderly. And what it was looking at was a safety profile long term, which I think was fantastic. Because one of the things that we're really constantly being encouraged to do is polypharmacy, deprescribing, and looking at what medications potentially could be doing harm in our elderly population. And it's a never-ending battle, is it? And one of the things that I know personally I worry about is if I'm stopping some of these medications, is potentially could I be doing harm? So let me talk you through what this research did. First of all, it was a multi-centre research and it was based in primary care, and it was done in Germany, Austria, Italy and the UK. And it was done mainly in Manchester, so thank you to the Manchester colleagues out there for doing this research. Now, what they decided to do was to look at medicines reviews, and you either were randomised to have a standard medication review, or the GPs that were randomised to the other group used the electronic toolkit, which was devised and looked at evidence-based prescribing in the elderly. So anyone that went into this study was asked, each GP practice was asked to recruit about 11 members to be in the study. And of course the numbers ranged, and those people had to be over age 75 and be on at least 8 medications. Now, they didn't want people in the study that were having cancer treatment, so active chemo or radiation, and they didn't want people that were on end of life pathway or were expected to die imminently. So these were all people that we were doing annual checks on, either in a standard way or using this new toolkit. And what they looked at was the safety of deprescribing. So if you were a practice and you were randomised into the group that all followed the electronic toolkit, the toolkit was written and devised using evidence-based prescribing guidance that we follow now, looking at things like anticholinergic medications, drug interactions, dose reduction for people with renal impairment, that sort of thing. And they would use that to draw up a report so that you had a shared decision-making process at the check. And they managed to get 3,904 recruits into this study, so it was a decent study. And then they followed them up, having done the medication reviews over a 2-year period. Now, the primary outcome they were looking at was admissions to hospital and deaths. And the other thing they were looking at was the number of medications that were prescribed. And what this study showed us at the 2-year endpoint was that there was a significant reduction in prescribed medication in the group that had gone through using the electronic toolkit. And they also found there was no difference in either group in the outcome data. So there was no difference in hospital admissions and there was no difference in deaths between the two groups. So what that shows us really is that at 2 years, that even if you deprescribe a significant medications for this elderly group of people, you are not increasing their risk of hospital admissions or death. So you aren't doing any harm to this group. And it's a shame, alternatively, you couldn't have seen that you may have been having less hospital admissions, but that didn't show that in the study, so you can't argue that yet. And that's one of the points they've made, is that maybe this study could have gone on for longer and maybe we might have seen that. But it was a really good starting point looking at toolkits for deprescribing, but also the effects of deprescribing doesn't do harm. So I know now, looking at our elderly population, and that's one of the criticisms of this study, that they weren't particularly frail in this study, and maybe if you picked a frailer age group, maybe you'd have got more of a benefit from that. But certainly when we're looking at these medication reviews, what you can say is that you will do no harm by stopping some of these medications, and actually hopefully following on there'll be more research to show some of the benefits we might be getting. So I hope that improves your confidence in prescribing some of these drugs that we're constantly being asked to do, and that you now know that you aren't going to do harm in doing this. So Pop that down on your PDPs, any learning points, anything you can take back and share with your practice. Thanks for listening, and I hope this changes your practice just a little way.